They're trying to provoke us, to push us into stepping up military action. And then they'll say, look at Russia, look at you, fascists destroying civilians, that Russian bear tearing everything apart. But words have power. With a word you can kill. With a word you can save. With a word you can lead entire armies.
Imagine a projectile like that tearing through the human body.
Gegen den Strom. Zur Person.
Against the current. About the person. Welcome to Against the Current. We show you positions and perspectives that the propaganda media keep hidden. Imagine a projectile like that tearing through the human body. It would rip it apart, says Colonel Alexander Strukow. He served in Samara, in Tashkent, in Moscow, and here in Volgograd, where he's now the head of the Veterans Association with around 300,000 members.
Hello, Alexander Dmitrovich. Hello. It's a pleasure. Thank you for your time. Likewise, it's nice to talk with you. My Russian isn't very good, so there will be a translation. All right.
What's the mission? What role does the Veterans Association play?
First of all, our purpose. That's who we are. We're a veterans organization, large, united and respected. It's made up of people with great life experience, people who've lived through a lot, those who rebuilt Stalingrad after the war. I'm talking about our veterans from the city of Stalingrad, now Volgograd. They rebuilt it, they defended it, they rebuilt it again. And today we have this beautiful city standing strong. That's why preserving peace and passing it on to the younger generation is our main mission. Passing on the historical truth, the historical memory, and raising young people in the spirit of patriotism in every aspect of life. That includes aesthetic education, moral education. And as for everything else, it's about maintaining health. As for me, your humble servant, I chair the Public Council of the Veterans Hospital. When it comes to medical care, preserving the health of our respected veterans, protecting their social rights, and working with all branches of government, both legislative and executive, it's important to build the right kind of relationship. And here I have to say, in our city, when it comes to the head of the region, the highest official, the governor of our oblast, hero of Russia Andrei Ivanovich Bocharov, and the head of Volgograd, Vladimir Vasilievich Marchenko, there's complete mutual understanding between the regional and city leadership. I serve as an advisor to the head of Volgograd, and it's truly gratifying to see the kind of heartfelt, almost filial attitude they show toward our veterans. Our veterans have always been valued, everywhere and in everything. They're treated with the deepest respect. We take part in all public and political events. Our veterans are the salt of the earth here in Volgograd and in Russia as a whole. When we talk about the veterans of Russia, they truly fulfill their mission, guiding the younger generation and passing on their life experience. That's what really matters. Of course, age can bring its own challenges, but our veterans like to say, our years are not a burden, they're our wealth. Old age won't catch us sitting at home. In spirit, they're great patriots, true citizens, I'd say. So the Veterans Organization serves our history and our country faithfully. And really nothing happens without the veterans. Our veterans are still active, and they're deeply respected.
In
Germany, people usually imagine a veterans association as a club of old military types. But you just showed me this piece of shrapnel from World War II, from 1941, from the fighting here around Stalingrad. Yet for you, it's a symbol of peace. Why is that?
No, not exactly. Not even about peace, really. What I wanted to emphasize is this fragment of heavy metal, probably cast iron, and how it once ended the lives of our soldiers, our officers, the defenders of Stalingrad. This particular piece was found right here, on the battlefields, on the distant approaches, the closer approaches, and in Stalingrad itself. There's so much metal like this still in the ground here. When you hold this fragment in your hand, it reminds you that we must never allow another war, never again let lives be cut short. If a piece of metal like this were to hit a person, what would happen? It would tear them apart. As for the military, yes, no one understands war better than those who've lived it. It's something deeply personal. And for me, as a military man, it's the same. There's no such thing as a former soldier, and certainly not a former officer. That's why we have to do everything we can to preserve peace and make sure another war never happens.
Сохранялся мир, чтобы не допустить новой войны и подобного такого вот уничтожения людей.
And that kind of destruction of human life. We want that metal to serve peace, not to be used for shells, and now for rockets, so that it never brings death again. That's what I meant when I spoke about that fragment. We all have to strengthen peace together. And the organization, it's not just about the military. You mentioned that in Germany, it's only the military. But for us, the organization includes the workers on the home front. We Russians have a very good saying, the people and the army are one. From the same metal, they cast a medal for battle and a medal for labor. That's how it is with our awards. So we have veterans of military service and veterans of labor. Our organization used to be called Children of Stalingrad, and now it's Children of Besieged Stalingrad. Stalingrad never surrendered. Yes, it was under siege, but it stood firm, just like Leningrad. And that's why this is so close to us, so deeply understood.
Поэтому нам очень это близко, нам очень понятно. Вот на Чуйкова 45 наш родной ветеранский дом.
Here on Chuikov Street, number 45, is our veterans' home, and right next to it we can see Pavlov's house, that stylized wall that stood for 58 days. What endurance, what courage, what self-sacrifice and bravery. They crushed almost an entire division, a fascist one. I'm not talking about the whole German people, I mean a German fascist division. It was ground down right here. One building, a small garrison. There's the Panorama Museum and those towers that still stand along the old front line. We were pressed hard there. The photo up top shows General Rodimtsev, commander of the 13th Guards Division, the one that defended Stalingrad on this very stretch of the front. They call him the angel of the Stalingrad victory. These were truly saintly people. They stood to the death. So we'll do everything we can to make sure no more shells, no more rockets, no more fragments fly, and that we never become enemies again. There must be peace on Earth. It's so fragile, and human life is so short, that we have to do everything possible to strengthen peace on this planet.
The
price of peace in the Great Patriotic War was high. It's the price the Red Army, in particular, paid when it liberated Germany from fascism. And many soldiers on both sides lost their lives to those kinds of shells. You're also working together with German institutions, including the German War Graves Commission, which is the only organization today that can still transfer funds to Russia. How do you feel when you see propaganda against Russia being spread again in Germany today?
I'll take the liberty to say this, and I'm absolutely sure of it. We have an extremely negative attitude toward the propaganda of fascism, neo-fascism, nationalism, and revanchism. Extremely negative. We live on the sacred land of Stalingrad. What a privilege that is. And more than anyone, we can see and know from history that such a thing must never happen again. Under no circumstances. No one invited the fascist divisions or Germany's satellites here, to our steppes, to the beautiful Mother Volga, wide, deep, to the thriving city of Stalingrad. No one invited them. They came on their own. Some say, we never met any Germans, they were just following orders, they were sent here. That's not true. They played their accordions in the clubs, marched in triumph. At least it seemed that way for a while. But then there was that well-known encirclement here. 22 divisions of the 6th Field Army. By the way, it's known from history that during one of the meetings, Hitler told Paulus, with the 6th Field Army, you can storm the heavens. Well, they did storm them. But now, those who came here are not in heaven. They're most likely in hell. And again, I'm talking about the fascists, their collaborators, the Romanians. You know what they did? Our veterans told me. Anatoly Koslov, a participant in the Battle of Stalingrad, his photo's right here, he told me this. The Romanians, together with the fascists, after drinking some schnapps, would enter a village or a small settlement. If there was an infant there, they'd form a circle, take the baby from the mother, toss it as high as they could, and then catch it on their bayonets. They were impaling children on bayonets. It's horrifying. It's beyond comprehension. It's absolutely unimaginable. That must never happen again. So when we talk about fascism and Nazism, and about what's happening now in Ukraine, when tanks are once again trying to move closer to our borders, maybe even trying to cross them, these are provocations. We will not allow that to happen again, under no circumstances. We stand for peace on earth. Strength is respected. We are a strong nation. We have powerful armed forces, and we know it. We'll tighten our belts if we have to. We'll go without. But when it comes to our military, we'll do everything necessary to keep our army as strong, capable, and professional as it is today. It's very important. Everything people need is being provided. That's when there's respect, when people take you seriously. We're grateful to our president, Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin. When I was asked to be his authorized representative in the last election, I saw it as both a great responsibility and an honor. And when I met with people, because being a representative means meeting with people, I saw that they support our president and our course toward peaceful cooperation with all countries. Russia has never attacked anyone, and it never will. Russia stands for friendship among nations. That's how it was, how it is, and how it will be. Our veterans say this, and so do most people around the world. Good, humane people.
You know a lot more about military matters than I do. Today, German media, and many politicians as well, are saying it's only a matter of time before, after Ukraine, Russia also invades Germany. What do you say to people who believe that?
That's a lie. Our president can sometimes say it very directly. Pure insinuations. Russia will never attack Germany. That will never happen. We don't want what belongs to others, but we won't give up what's ours either. Absolutely not. So I believe that once we've completed the objectives of the special military operation, well, we're not meant to know everything. The General Staff knows, the Supreme Commander-in-Chief knows. That's how it should be, and that's the right way. That's how we'll reach our goals. But honestly, the idea that Russia would attack Germany or any other country is just nonsense. We don't need Romania or the Baltics or Poland or Germany or any of those other countries. Not at all. We stand for keeping everything within the borders that exist today. But you know, if we think about it, we were once surprised. There was a time when we thought of the Bulgarians as our brothers, and then suddenly, well, you see how they switched sides. Of course, the people aren't to blame. I want to stress that. Our veterans say the same thing. It's not the people's fault that the course of their leaders, Germany's in this case, has changed. These are short-sighted people, let me put it that way, tactfully and diplomatically. The current leaders of those countries, they're not heading in the right direction. That's just the truth. We will never attack another country. That has never happened, and it never will.
You said, we will achieve our goals. In your view, what is this war in Ukraine really about now that it's been going on for more than 2 years?
It's hard for me to talk about this because it involves, well, again, the General Staff, the country's top political leadership, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But if we speak simply, the way our veterans and ordinary people do, just regular citizens, listen, Ukraine used to be a wonderful country, a state within the Soviet Union, and we lived together in harmony. But Odessa, that's a port founded by Russia, by our emperors, our tsars, our empresses, and our military leaders. The Black Sea, Crimea, after all, Crimea returned to what we call its home harbour, its native harbour. So it's painful and hard to understand why now there's this kind of hornet's nest in that same Odessa. From there, boats are launched toward the Crimean Bridge, our famous bridge, coming from the area around Odessa, from near Mykolaiv, from Ilashivsk, I think that city has a different name now, a port near Odessa, and even from Lviv.
Lvov. Одна из версий Зеленского — Львов отдать Польше.
So one of Zelensky's ideas, as I understand it, is to hand Lviv over to Poland. Lviv has already been under Poland, under Austria-Hungary. And what happened then? Later, they welcomed the German fascist divisions, and those carried out a terrible massacre there. In just a week, everyone who was pro-Soviet, the entire intelligentsia in the Lviv region, was wiped out. So we need to think carefully. It's hard for me to say exactly what the top leadership is aiming for. I can't speak about achieving their goals, but these are territories where enormous resources were invested, where we studied together, made friends, shared everything. And of course, we wouldn't want to see Odessa turned into a port for NATO ships. No, that wouldn't be good. The same goes for the other port cities, Mykolaiv, for example. And Lviv itself is a beautiful city. We preserved it. It has wonderful architecture, and the resorts around Lviv, Truskavets and others, they're all remarkable. That's something they want to trade away somehow. But most people don't want to break away from Russia. Zelensky, he's out of his mind. But behind him, there are other leaders. We all know he's just a puppet in the hands of leaders from other Western countries. And the money they've given him, he's swallowed it, spun it around somewhere, let it slip through. We know corruption in Ukraine is terrible. They're getting billions in all these so-called aid packages for the war, but it all ends up in someone's pockets, villas somewhere in Miami, and who knows what else. So what are their real goals? We'll see. We'll find out over time. But just to hand over our territory like that, no. We've lived together too long, been friends too long, and we still are. The people of Ukraine are our brotherly people, a Slavic people. That's all I'll say.
I was in the Donbass shortly after the war began, just a few months after it started, and I traveled through the region. Many of the people I spoke with who live there told me there can only be peace with Russia. They asked me, why have the Ukrainians been shelling us since 2014? Do you understand that attitude? Do you share it?
Verstehen Sie diese Haltung? Teilen Sie sie?
The fact that the people of Ukraine, of Donbass, those who voted on our territory, that was really an outpouring of the people, a desire to be together with Russia. Clearly, the people of Ukraine are drawn to us. That's the first point. Second, the bombings and all that. But again, that's about the economy, about money. It's not just Zelensky's plans or the West's plans. Great Russia, rich Russia, with its land, its resources and everything else. They envy us. And again, it's a kind of revenge. I was in Kursk before Kursk was taken. There are many complications behind why things turned out that way there. We won't go into all that now. But what's happening right now? These constant drone attacks. And who's supplying the drones? The West is. The West. The UK, France, Germany, and other countries. That's where the money comes from. The military-industrial complex is thriving right now. It's a great time for them. They're saying, oh, this is wonderful. Keep the war going. Keep fighting each other. Come on, Russians, Ukrainians, the more the better. That's what they call cannon fodder. That's how it's supposed to be, in their view. So there's a lot involved here. And to say that Ukraine is acting on its own, no, it's not. It's the West that's fighting against us. According to some reports, about 50 countries around the world are either fighting us directly or are completely set on destroying what they call Mother Russia. That's something that should never happen.
Sie haben die Drohnenattacken erwähnt.
You mentioned the drone attacks. That also affects Volgograd, and it even affected our trip here. We would have liked to arrive a bit earlier, but there was a drone alert at Sheremetyevo, and all flights to southern Russia were cancelled, so we had to wait until the next day. How severe are the drone attacks here in Volgograd?
Wie stark sind die Drohnenangriffe hier in Volgograd?
Unfortunately, we're not hiding it or trying to sugarcoat the situation. It is what it is. We trust our media, we watch television, follow the news, listen to the radio, and we know that sadly, drones are flying into Russian territory almost every day. Of course, we view this extremely negatively. We have air defense systems. We have the means to respond. But you have to understand, the border is huge, almost 3,000 kilometers along the western side, and it's simply impossible to monitor everything. The delivery systems are getting more advanced. Those same drone attacks, some of them already use rocket engines, aircraft-type drones. But as Vladimir Vladimirovich said, if on May 9th anyone tries to disrupt the victory parade or send something toward Moscow, it'll be destroyed completely, at least the Bankover Street area and the center of Kiev. And we're asking the staff of foreign embassies to leave the city. And civilians should keep in mind, there will be massive attacks, our attacks. And why is Zelensky making these statements? They're provoking us, trying to push us into escalating the fighting. And then they'll say, look at Russia, look at you, you're fascists, you're destroying civilians. Russia is that raging Russian bear, tearing everything apart. We understand perfectly well how much restraint, wisdom and common sense our president has. He doesn't take the bait, he doesn't fall for these provocations, so we don't slide into escalation and large-scale strikes, including from our side. We target military sites. Yes, everything is tracked. Satellites, precise coordinates, military bases, mercenaries, and the supply routes used to deliver weapons. We'll hit them, we'll cover them. Our Hazel Grove, as we call it, is ready. We have what we need to respond. We have everything. But we won't let it spiral out of control. We won't let these provocations succeed.
Ich habe gelesen von Drohnenattacken.
I read about drone attacks on the port of Ust-Luga on the Baltic Sea. There were similar attacks on the Black Sea. A refinery was hit there as well. And I heard from someone who lives about 150 miles east of Moscow that fuel was temporarily rationed. What are the consequences of these attacks? How do they affect the economy and the people living there?
Wie wirkt sich das auf die Wirtschaft aus hier, auf die Menschen, die hier leben?
No, it hasn't affected the economy. As far as I know, I'm not an economist, and I don't handle that area. I don't have detailed information about the state of the economy. But in many respects, things are on the rise. Our economy hasn't declined. In this case, we were talking about Volgograd. Now, when it comes to the moral and psychological situation, one of my degrees is in military psychology. So, when I talk with our veterans, I wouldn't say there's outright anxiety, but to some extent, yes. There were strikes on an oil refinery, especially in the southern parts of the city. Some drones even hit residential buildings. Fortunately, there have been no casualties. Of course, it's natural. For any normal person, anyone with a healthy mind, this kind of thing causes anxiety, even outrage. The situation, well, it's not exactly getting worse. But as some veterans say, maybe I'll say something a bit bold here, why can't we respond? Over there too, they have their own rules. We understand perfectly well. There are small children there, in Munich, in Dresden, in Rostock, in Berlin, in Leipzig. And yes, that would be a tragedy for ordinary people. But they don't think that way. Zelensky's circle, those who command the armed forces and give the orders for drones to fly into our territory. So, it's all very complicated. We're being provoked, and naturally it worries us, it troubles us a bit. That's how it is.
Немножечко волнует и беспокоит. Вот так.
It's interesting that you say people are getting nervous too, naturally afraid of the drone attacks. What are people in Volgograd or Sochi saying? How are they dealing with it?
Wie gehen die Menschen damit um?
А я скажу так, с пониманием.
I'll put it this way, with understanding, with full understanding. Even though it's called a special military operation, we can clearly see how the West has risen up against Russia, so to speak. Look at the means they're using, the types of weapons, and the pressure they're applying on the diplomatic front. The latest example is the meeting in Yerevan. Those are far-reaching plans, to surround us even more through Armenia, to push out our military base. But let's remember, this goes way back, the so-called Turkish massacre, when the Turks slaughtered the Armenians, half the population. And where did the Armenians turn? They ran to Russia. We share a border, we're close, we're neighbors. And now Pashinyan, again Pashinyan, who's really conducting the orchestra there, along with the top people around him. That's dangerous. It's confrontation, it's global tension once again. That's why in Volgograd and in Sochi, that world-class resort, people are, of course, outraged.
Конечно, люди с возмущением. Я скажу, у нас, знаете, вот я уже допустил.
Let me put it this way. You know, I've already said this before. Our state-minded people, our veteran public servants, they keep track of everything. They follow the news on the radio, on TV, in the papers. They read the newspapers, subscribe to them, watch what's going on, how things are developing. Everything's accessible now. And that's why we can clearly see that the West is trying to stir things up, to escalate the situation. They want to crush us economically, all these different sanctions. But Russia is a rich country. And I'll say it again, our president, our top political and military leadership, will never allow Russia to surrender or fall into some kind of abyss of poverty or collapse. Just look around, go to any store, any market, everything's there, everything's fine. If you work honestly, you're a citizen contributing to your society. You earn what you deserve, and that's enough. Everything's normal.
Получая по заслугам, нормально все вполне хватает. Холодильники, любые продукты, мясомолочные.
Refrigerators, all kinds of food, meat, dairy, whatever you want. We've got stability. Our country is stable. But some are trying to shake things up to destabilize Russia too. We're not going to let that happen, even though things are really complicated right now. We know what's going on in the Middle East, the Far East, and the Central Asian republics. Everywhere, like in Syria, tensions are rising. In Iran, in Iraq, it's all very difficult. They're flexing their muscles. The Americans are flexing their muscles. They think they can do anything. 200,000 bases around the world, as if they own the planet. That's not going to happen. Never. Our Soviet, our Russian soldier, the older generations, our grandfathers, they were right. Our grandfathers, they won glorious victories. They used to say, a Russian soldier doesn't burn in fire and doesn't drown in water. He lays his coat under him, another on top. And that's it. The enemy was defeated right there. And then, in 1945, they raised the victory banner over the Reichstag. Hurrah! That's how it was. Mother Russia will never kneel before anyone.
Никогда не станет на колени ни перед кем.
Hier in den Büros des Veteranenverbandes habe ich
Here in the offices of the Veterans Association, I just saw a poster, an ad for voluntary enlistment in the military. How are the numbers looking? Are many people signing up voluntarily? Or is it like in the fall of 2022, when a lot of young men fit for service tried to avoid the draft by leaving the country? I mean, many went to Turkey, to Belgrade, and also to Kazakhstan.
nach Belgrad, aber auch nach Kasachstan.
Я начну с конца. Кто хотел?
Let me start from the end. Those who wanted to leave, left. They're not patriots of Russia. The real ones, the true patriots, volunteered. Our recruitment offices for contract service are open and working. You want to join? You're healthy? Mentally sound? Got some skills? You're a normal guy? You want to serve? The main thing is, we'll train you, teach you everything you need. First, you go through some preparation, and then to the combat zone. That's it. As for posters, there's a saying, with words you can kill, with words you can save, and with words you can lead entire regiments. So both the spoken word and the art of poster design, all kinds of propaganda materials, they inform people, they call people to action. Whoever controls information controls the world.
Кто владеет информацией, владеет миром. Поэтому люди должны ориентироваться, во имя чего, для чего.
That's why people need to understand what they're doing it for, why they're doing it, and what it's worth. It's no secret that money matters. It's an important part of life. That's why people say, you can never have too much of it. Sure, that's one reason some of the guys go, but the main thing is, they go for an idea. Patriotism, that's what drives them. As the chairman of the Veterans Council, representing the veteran community, I attend ceremonies where our guys receive state awards at the Panorama Museum, the Order of Courage, the Zhukov Medal, the Suvorov Order, and other honors. These are young men, full of strength and energy. It's a pleasure to see. And there's a saying, we'll carry on and multiply the traditions of our fathers. That's our youth. They've been raised with a strong sense of patriotism.
Она у нас патриотически воспитанная. Земля наша, Сталинградская, Россия матушка.
Our land, Stalingrad, Mother Russia, has a rich and glorious history. It raises true patriots. That's why no one will ever defeat us. And those posters calling people to stand up, that's good. That's the right thing to do. Whoever wanted to run away has already run. They ran off. Well, good riddance. Let them roll off to Georgia, Kazakhstan, Tel Aviv, wherever they like, fine by me. But to run away like that, you need money. So it's not ordinary folks who flee, it's those kinds of people, not real patriots of their homeland. I once heard a slogan from Ukrainian nationalists, where the money is, that's where the homeland is. What a filthy creed. We must never be like that. Let them go to hell.
We started our conversation with this piece of shrapnel. And of course, there's no war without victims. Alongside many young Ukrainians, many Russians, many young Russians are being killed. A lot of people are being injured. What's the situation like here in Volgograd? What are you doing for these people?
Not just in Volgograd, but across the whole country. This is the course set by our president, our government, and our governor, Andrei Ivanovich Bocharov. I mentioned him earlier. The head of the region, a hero of Russia. It's also the work of all social protection services, all the foundations, and officials at every level. I was talking about both the legislative and executive branches of power. Right now, everything is focused on providing help to those in need, in one way or another, who are connected to the special military operation. In this case, we're talking about families and those who have returned. We all know the situation, and I'm not hiding anything from you. I'm being honest. Some people have lost limbs, yes, and we're helping with prosthetics, with finding jobs, making sure their children can study, and offering certain benefits when applying to universities. Yes, that too. In our region, we were the first to start handing out cars with manual controls to the guys who took part in the special military operation zone, those who, unfortunately, were injured. The ones supplying the mines, the booby traps. That's the West. It's not Ukraine doing all that. You see how painful that is? Everything in this world is connected. All these Macrons and the rest of them. Macron doesn't have children. He doesn't understand what it feels like to be a parent, a father in this case. Go ahead, kill each other, Russians and Ukrainians. That's the attitude. So, when it comes to social support, in Russia this issue is handled quickly and effectively. And I have to say, our veterans see that. They understand it and they say they approve and support it. That's how it is, providing material assistance.
You said earlier that Western Europeans want to bring Russia to its knees. How serious do you think the risk is that the war in Ukraine could escalate and, so to speak, turn into a wildfire across Europe?
Нас на это провоцируют, я который раз говорю.
They're trying to provoke us into this. I've said it many times. But I believe that common sense, the wisdom of the people, won't let humanity, the global community of nations and faiths, be dragged back into that nuclear abyss, into a terrible nuclear war. If we, figuratively speaking, let that deadly weapon out of its sheath, everyone will die. And I just don't understand how the leaders of NATO countries don't seem to grasp that. But again, it's all about money. That's what drives the situation there. They keep trying to stir up fear, saying the Russians might attack the Baltics, crush those small countries. It's all just petty scaremongering. I really don't want to believe that. I've spoken with our veterans. There are so few of them left, those who actually fought in the war.
У нас их мало осталось участников войны. В городе герои, миллионники, осталось...
In our hero city, a city of over 1 million people, there are only 38 surviving veterans of the Great Patriotic War left today. 38. We politely say they're not very mobile, but in truth, most of them are bedridden. What can you do? There's nothing you can do. It's just age. They're all around 100, some even older. Only 6 veterans of the Battle of Stalingrad are still alive. They're all over 100. By the way, after this interview, I'm going to visit one of them, a veteran of the Battle of Stalingrad, also fought in the Battle of Sevastopol, and ended the war in Romania. He's 102 years old. He's blind now, and his hearing is poor. His name is Yevgeny Fyodorovich Rogov. A legend, everyone says so. Preserving peace, that's what truly matters. When there's peace, everything else follows. People's health, and the chance to live in peace.
Человека. И жить в мире. Тогда комфортно. Тогда трудись.
When life feels right, that's when you work, learn, raise your children, teach your grandchildren, and live in harmony with the world around you. That's the joy of life, and that's its meaning. But this moment, this very moment, passes so quickly. I've already told you, I'll be 75 in 3 months. Still young at heart, and all that. Time just flies. We have to do everything we can for the people of Germany. And right now, Russia is doing that to preserve peace. Peace is fragile. It's an enormous treasure to live in peace, to look up and see a blue sky like today. How wonderful that is. I came this morning from Mamayev Kurgan. I was there yesterday too, on my hill. The Volga River, our mother river, as we say, wide and deep. The lilacs are in bloom. The world is celebrating life. It's so beautiful, so full of joy. But God forbid a terrible war should come, especially now. No, we must not allow war. We won't allow it.
Нельзя допустить войны. Нельзя. Не допустим.
Sie haben Deutschland
You visited Germany, you have friends in Bavaria. Earlier you showed me some pictures from those visits. What do you say today to the people in Germany who believe that Putin is about to attack us?
sagen, wir werden demnächst von Putin angegriffen.
Я бы хотел сказать, что
I'd like to quote Julius Fučík, the well-known Czechoslovak anti-fascist. People, be vigilant. Vigilant. People, be vigilant. We can't go back to the old days. You can't step into the same river twice. But at the same time, we have the experience of friendship. Friendship is the strength of any nation, of any state. It's the rulers who need to come to their senses, not the people. We were welcomed in the city of Munich, in a little town called Ingolstadt. Warmly, hospitably, generously, in that broad, open Russian way. We noticed it right away. From the airport, they took us to the hotel. There was attention, the town hall, this and that. We had all that too. And later, the Germans came to visit us. That really happened. But now, they're trying again, the neo-fascists. And once again, it's not the ordinary people of Germany who are behind it. Curtain down, we're on opposite sides. We're enemies. And Putin, I remember back then in Germany, I saw neo-fascist posters. Putin with a bear, or maybe a wolf, something like that, with blood coming from its jaws and all that.
еще и кровь из пасти, все. Что вы рисуете из нас врагов? Глупости какие?
Why are you trying to paint us as enemies? That's nonsense. They're fooling people. Just fooling them. I'd really like our nations to live in peace, in harmony, in full cooperation. That's how life should be, comfortable and right. And I believe that's how it will be. It will. I want to believe in that. I really do. We must never let another Rzhev or Stalingrad happen again. Remember when Hitler made Paulus a field marshal, hoping he'd shoot himself? Paulus was smart enough not to do it, but his chief of staff, General Adam, and the others, well, that was it. A disgrace for the Wehrmacht. The army surrounded, the commander sitting in a stinking basement. We don't need that. None of it. That's what we have to make sure never happens again. We know our history well, we value it, we pass it on to the younger generation, and we say, we will live in peace, we believe in peace.
Oberst Alexander Strukow, der Vorsitzende.
Colonel Alexander Strukow, the chairman of the Veterans Association in Volgograd, which has about 300,000 members, tells the people of Germany that it's a lie to claim Russia wants to attack Germany. He appeals to us Germans, stay alert, don't let warmongers push you into another conflict. And he adds, my city, Volgograd, is also suffering from drone attacks.
Volgograd leidet unter dem Drohnenbeschuss.
Thank you very much for your time.
Here at Against the Current, we show positions and perspectives that the propaganda media keep hidden. Stay with us.
Bleiben Sie dabei.